All right, it's time to work on our binder cover design. So, for this particular project, you are going to go to File, New, and you are going to put in where it says Name, you are going to put in BC underscore your first initial and last name. Alright, then you're going to set the width to 8.5 inches, the height to 11, the resolution to 150, RGB color with a white background, and you're going to say OK. Alright, back to our document here. Alrighty, so right over here on the left side we have our vertical toolbar, and you can see that I can move it around. So this is a handy toolbar that we're going to be using throughout the entire year. You want to select Paint Bucket. Now, so far when I'm looking down this, I can see that my Paint Bucket is hidden. It actually shares the same spot as this particular symbol, which is a gradient tool. Okay? Well, we don't want to select gradient tool. We want to select Paint Bucket tool. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And you can see now I've got this little handy dandy paint bucket. Alright, so now the next step number 2, is to set our foreground color. So we're going to go over here and we're going to select a color that we want to use. So I'm going to do like a purple. I'm going to say OK. So look what happens down here. It shows up down here at the bottom as a little bit of a pink square, and that's our foreground color. Now we're going to set our background color. And you can see we have a color picker that comes up, and I'm going to select kind of a lighter pink. Okay? So now I'm going to pour this in, and it's going to pour in as this dark color. Now if I want to, I could create a gradient. That's an option of yours. So if I go over here to Edit, Undo Paint Bucket, I can come over here to my gradient tool, and I can use that if I like, and I can just bring it down like that, and what happens is it is now dark pink on top and light pink on bottom. So you have that choice if you want to. You can either use the gradient, or you could pour in a solid color if you like as well. Okay. So you can keep doing this until you are satisfied with your color. So if you're not, you can always go up to Edit, Undo, and it will undo anything you don't like. Okay? So I'm going to use my gradient tool again, and I'm going to drag it across my paper so that I have a nice dark to light pink. Moving on. We are now going to go to Insert your portrait image. Okay, so you should have a photo of yourself. It could be like a Facebook photo, any kind of photo, maybe on your phone. You know, email it to yourself, or you can download the photo from Facebook. Any way you want to get a photo of yourself will work. Okay? So all you have to do to insert your photo is go to File, Open, and I have a bunch of photos that I'm going to use here for mine. So I'm going to come over here to my U drive where I have my photos saved. And I'm going to go to my pictures, because that's where I saved some pictures. And I'm going to look at my pictures at large JPEG so I can find them. And, well, I've decided I'm just going to use a picture of my daughter. Okay? So here I go. I'm going to get a picture of my daughter when she was very young. She's much older now. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. Okay? Okay, so after it's open, what I want to do is maybe adjust the photo. And there's different ways you can do that. You can go to Image, adjustments, and you can come down here to curves. Okay? And look what happens. So I'm going to move this over. If I move it up, it lightens it. If I move it down, it darkens it. Okay? So just adjust your photo until you're happy with it. Alrighty. So now it's time to go to image size. Because what we're going to do is we're going to resize our photo to fit into our document. So I'm going to go to image size. And I want to switch my image to be a resolution of 150 with a height of 4. Don't worry about width. Width is going to change on you automatically. You don't have to do anything with width. So then you say, okay, yes, my photo did shrink down a little bit. That's perfectly okay. So now it's time to insert my photo into my gradient document that I created. Alrighty, so all I have to do that is go to select all. You see these marching ants around the image? What that means is that I've now selected everything that's inside those marching ants. I'm going to go to edit, copy, and now I'm going to come back to my document. You can see here that I can toggle back and forth. I've got 2 documents open. I'm going to come back to my document that I created. I'm going to go edit, paste. What do you know? Now I've got my photo here. Now I could actually resize this a little bit. I'm going to say show transform controls. I'm just going to, you'll notice that a box with little boxes at the corners and the middle show up around your picture. Well, guess what? I can make that just a little bit bigger and then go enter to set that. Alright. Okay, so now I'm ready to move on. What I want to do now is I want to add some text. Alright? And also I want to add some special effects to my portrait. So before I go in and start to add text, I think I'm going to add my special effects to my portrait. Alrighty? So all I have to do is click on the layer. You will notice that on the right side you should have what's called a layers dialog box showing. And this shows all your layers. So make sure it's showing. If it's not showing, you need to come over here to Window. And you need to select Layers. Okay? If you do that, then you will see this Layers dialog box. In fact, I can take it out. And then we can look at it a little closer here. This is very important. Whenever you're working on a project, you always have to have your layers open. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on a special symbol in my layers dialog box. But before I do that, I'm going to make sure that layer 1 is selected. Layer 1 has my photo. So now I'm going to go over here to the FX, and you'll notice it brings down a bunch of different options. I'm going to click on a few like drop shadow. Now if we look at that, we can see that we bring up a whole bunch of options. I'm going to double click on this drop shadow to make sure I have drop shadow as my selected layer style. Okay, this is called the layer style dialog box. We can play with any of these. We can add distance to our shadow, we can spread it, we can add the size. We can do anything we want to this. Okay, so I ask that you at least add a drop shadow. And let's say okay. Now let's see what else we're asked to do here. Okay, so now we can add more if we want. So let's go over here to FX. Why don't we add an outer glow? So we have outer glow as a layer style, and we can change our outer glow color by clicking on this little box right here, and maybe I want to make it more pink. Again, I'm going to use my color picker. This time maybe a really light pink. OK. And then I can spread it, and I can change the size, and it just adds kind of a nice little glow along the edge of my print. And let's say I want to add a stroke. Well, a stroke, so I'm going to double click on stroke. You can see now I've gone to a new layer style. What this does is it lets me add a box, like a nice sharp line around my image. And it's currently on the position is on the outside. Well, that's perfectly fine. So I can move this out if I want, or I could say on the inside, and I can switch it to the inside so that it's going to make the photo look a little smaller as I slide it along here. You can see it changes the number right here. Okay? So let's change that color. We always click on our color picker for that. And let's put like pink. There we go. And we say OK to finalize it. Now if you look at the layered dialog box, you're going to notice that there are 3 layers that have been layer styles that have been applied to this image. We have drop shadow, outer glow, and stroke. Now it's time to add our text. So adding text. We're going to click on our text tool on the left side in the vertical toolbox. Okay? And we're going to just click anywhere in our document. And you can see that it creates a new layer called Layer 2 with a T. I am going to center my text, so I'm going to click on the top vertical toolbar is here. Okay, now this is our horizontal toolbar. So I'm going to click there so that I basically center my text. I'm also going to change my font size to something a little better and bigger, and I'm going to change my font style to something a little more fancy, and I'm going to put my first name. And guess what? It's defaulting to the first dark pink color that I chose, and you can see that here on the horizontal toolbar as well as on the vertical toolbar. So if you want, you could change that to a darker purple, and that might look better. So let's select that name again, and let's type it in. Well, why didn't it do that? Let's try that again. Okay, and let's select, and let's type. Nope, it keeps changing back to the pink, so maybe we need to select the color first, and then type CHRISTINA SALINAS. And then we're going to say this is digital photo. And we're going to say our class period. Period 1. So there you go. So now you've got your text. You can click on this little move tool here at the top. And what that does is it allows you to move your text. You can do that for your photo as well. You can click on that move tool and you can move your photo anywhere you want it. I'm going to come back to my text, and I'm going to add a layer style to my text. So I'm going to come over here and click on FX, and I'm going to do an outer glow. I'm going to change my outer glow color to kind of a light pink, and I'm going to spread that out so it really stands out against the lighter pink at the bottom of my paper. I'm going to say OK. Alrighty, so now we've added our text. And we added our FX to our text as well. Now it's important that we save the file. Let's go back to File, Save As. Now, guess what? It's going to have that name that you gave it at the very beginning, BC_C Salinas. So you are going to go into the P drive, click over here, and you're going to come down here and you're going to select Network Drive P. Okay? And then you're going to go to Period 1 folder, and then you're going to go into the folder called Binder Cover. And that is where you want to save your final image. Okay? Make sure that you have your name as BC_C Salinas. Make sure you have it saved as that, okay? Well, not C. Salinas, but your first initial and then your last name, okay? So make sure you save it like that in the period 1 folder, in the subfolder called binder cover. That's where you want to save your finished binder cover design, okay? However, as you're working on it, you can save it in your U drive, okay? So as you're working on this project, you can keep saving it in your U drive, and then when you're ready to turn it in, you can save it on the P drive, go to the period 1 folder, select binder cover. If you're in period 2, you would go to the period 2 folder, and if you're in period 3, you would go to the period 3. So that's how it works, and that's how you turn your work into Mrs. Salinas.